Annyeonghaseyo, all my beautiful people. How are you doing today? Welcome back to the alternate point of view. Welcome if you are new. I just wanted to do a quick video today about a couple of trials that I have been following. This week we are working on a 25-year-old cold case. It's very, very similar to Casey Anthony, only instead of 30 days, this child has been missing for over 25 years. And his body was found 25 years ago, but no one was ever held accountable. No one reported him missing, at least not his parents anyway. So Teresa Black is on trial. I have watched the trial all week long. I've watched every day, and I just want to give my take as an self-appointed alternate juror because as I'm watching this trial unfold, these are my issues. So let's get the backstory. The backstory on Teresa Black and her son, William, is that she had him when she was a teenager, 15 years old, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And at some point in time, she had been living with her parents off and on. She made some friends. She was doing pretty decent, helping her parents out, pay some bills. The next thing you know, she just up and decides to move to Georgia. Now, she has no family in Georgia. She doesn't know anyone there. She's just decided she wants to get a new start, fresh life. So she takes her son, William, around December 9th, 1998. And she's gone for, a couple weeks. And she returns to Charlotte without William. And her best friend in Charlotte was like, "Where's William?" And Teresa says he's with family till she can get herself back together or whatever. Well, this goes on for quite some time, right? And no one has seen or heard from William. Teresa hasn't mentioned William. She's moved on with her life. Her best friend, though, is still wondering, it's really weird. Where's William? William's father is even asking, "Where's my son?" Even though I will say William's dad isn't the most stand-up guy in the world, he did try to keep up with all his kids, whether he was in prison or not. But the best friend decided to call the authorities and say, something's wrong. We haven't seen this child. Now the father's looking for him, and I thought he was staying with the father's family. So she reports William missing in 1999 or 2000. But the police basically tell her she can't report him missing because she's not a custodial parent. Really strange, right? So anyway, as this unfolds, William is just missing. But what's happening in Georgia is that there has been a body of a child found in the woods in Decatur, Georgia, and it is severely decomposed. So there's nothing left of him except skeletal bones and a little bit of tissue and muscle on his legs. Now, they did post him on several sites in the media trying to get him identified. But they couldn't identify him because everything had decayed away. They didn't have any records on him in Georgia. It's 1999, don't forget. So they didn't have the means to find things the way we do now. So Teresa goes on, lives her life. It is 25 years later, and the best friend is still searching for William. She's just kind of going on sites, looking at things, missing children, things like that. But she's never searched for dead missing children. So her daughter at one point says, "Hey, Mom, you need to look at this site. Check this out." Well, she does. And she finds a composite picture of William. And this is a clay picture done of William, a drawing of William, of what he may have looked like when he was alive. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's William." So she calls the police and she calls the missing children people. And she's like, "Hey, I think I know who that boy is." So she says that's William. Well, at this point, it's been 25 years, 24 years. And Teresa has now lived in Charlotte, lived in Alaska, and now she's living in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, the police finally identify that this is in fact William through William's DNA, his father's DNA, who's also named William. They went all the way to Charlotte to get his DNA and figure out if this was really William. Well, it is. So now they have identified this little boy who's about 7 or 8 years old, and who apparently appears to have some trauma to his face or his skeletal bones, right? And from what they could put together of him, they couldn't see or tell how he actually died, but they did find traces of Tylenol and Benadryl in his muscle tissue that was on his legs. Keep in mind, this is in Georgia. It's December when he went missing. And so it is cold there. Georgia does have seasons. And he was dressed in a pair of Timberlands, name brand clothing, name brand pants, name brand jacket. He was very well dressed and just in the woods behind a church, dead. So they finally track down Teresa and realize she's in Phoenix, Arizona. So they go there with the intention of getting a DNA test to find out if she is actually the mother of this little boy who they found 24 years ago. Well, she is kind of like, what are you doing here? What's going on? And they ask her simple questions like, do you have children? Where have you lived? And she pretty much only says that it's her and her daughter, nobody else. She doesn't have any other kids. She hasn't lived really anywhere. She's been in Arizona for the last 12, 13 years, and, that's pretty much that. Well, they finally start to dig a little more, and she's finally like, oh, yeah, I did have a son. Yeah, but I lost touch with him. I haven't heard from him in years. So weird, right? So she tells the cops kind of a similar story that Casey Anthony told the cops, was that she left William with a friend and lost track of him and hasn't heard from him, like it's his fault. Kid who was 7 or 8 years old at the time stopped contact with her, so she just kind of moved on with her life. Didn't ask, didn't want to know, didn't know where the heck her son was. And she showed very little concern by the police once they mentioned and brought William up and said, look, we found your son, he's dead. So she is kind of like, no. But she never says, what happened to him? Where did you find him? How was he killed? Who did it? None of those questions, right? It's just no. So needless to say, she finally comes up with a story where she's like, okay, well, yeah, I was in Georgia with him, but I did just lose contact and okay, maybe I did give him some medication. He was sick. He wasn't feeling well. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any money. I was homeless, this, that, and the other, right? Well, none of her stories adding up, but it does match. Some of the things she says does kind of match what they found in his tissue, which is that he did have medication in his system, but she says it was from a lozenge, not actual medication. So this goes on to the DA's office. The DA's office is like, we're going to charge her with murder, child endangerment, all these things, right? She's on trial now. It is 2024 now. She's on trial for this murder of her son. Well, here's where the problem comes into play. There is a body, there is a suspect, but there is zero evidence that proves that she did it. Now, we could say, like Casey Anthony, there really wasn't any other alternative, or like O.J. Simpson, no other real alternative, right? But the evidence didn't show beyond a reasonable doubt that O.J. Simpson killed Nicole, even though, come on, are we all dumb? Well, that jury was, but not really, because the evidence didn't show. Much like the evidence didn't show that Casey Anthony killed her daughter. The evidence showed Casey Anthony was a crap mom and selfish and psychotic, but it didn't show that she killed her daughter. The same thing with this Teresa Black case and poor William. Poor William, I fear, is going to end up without justice because the prosecution is hinging its entire case on the fact that their speculation of fact that they say Teresa Black overdosed her son on Benadryl and Tylenol and then killed him and left him in the woods. Now, there is no evidence that he was overdosed with Tylenol or Benadryl. There is no evidence that he was hit in the head with a blunt object, other than there is a skeletal break in his face. But there is no evidence that she did it. This could have come from a car accident. It could have come from anything. Who knows? It could have come from her actually hitting him and killing him. But there is no evidence linking her. Where there is evidence of omission, right? Evidence of her omitting the fact that she had a son. Evidence of her abandoning her son. Evidence of her neglecting her son as far as leaving him in Georgia. But as far as evidence of her abusing him or killing him or having any direct contact with that situation is not there. And even the forensic toxicologist and the pathologist and the coroner, medical examiner are all saying that he did have Tylenol and Benadryl in his system, and it must have been pretty recent, but they couldn't tell you what level it was. They couldn't tell you how he died, what caused his death. They couldn't tell you if he was toxic. They couldn't tell you any of those things. And they can't place her there at that scene because there is no data, there is no physical evidence, there is no nothing. So I fear that poor William will not get the justice he deserves. Now, if this jury does find her guilty, there's going to have to be a rabbit pulled out of a hat somewhere on the prosecution side. And I'm not saying that she didn't have something to do with her son's murder. She may have. She may very well may have sold him for drugs, sold him to pay a debt, sold him for a warm place to stay. Who knows? I feel like that is more possible than her possibly killing him herself. I really don't know. I'm only speculating, much like the prosecution is. So as the self-appointed alternate juror, I really want you guys to keep an eye on this case, and I want you to tell me what you think, what your opinions are. But this is my view watching this trial as self-appointed alternate juror. My point of view is that the prosecution's evidence is not holding up. They don't have facts. They don't have evidence. They have theories, they have hypotheticals, they have speculation, but they don't have any solid evidence. And they don't even have enough, honestly, for me, if I were a juror on this trial, to say beyond a reasonable doubt, even if she was reasonably the last person to have seen him, we don't know that for sure. We don't know who the last person was to see poor William. We don't know where she put him or who she gave him to, or if she gave him to anyone, or if, she did something really dumb and killed her son and left him and went on with her life. We don't know. It's all mere speculation. It's all guessing. And that is not what we convict people on. We do not convict people on guessing games and speculation. We convict them on evidence, solid evidence, which is why I say beyond a reasonable doubt matters. Trial by jury matters. Our justice system matters. So I am keeping an eye on this trial. I'm watching it every day. So I wanted to catch you guys up on that one. We're going to do another short video later and talk about another boy in a box situation. But for now, I want you guys to let me know what you think about William. And do you think his mom did it? Given the facts that I have seen or the evidence I have seen so far at trial, I can't say beyond a reasonable doubt that I would say she's guilty. Unfortunately, I feel like it would end up like another Casey Anthony situation, another O.J. Simpson. These are just cases I can think of top of mind because there is no physical evidence to link her other than that she is biologically his mother. Other than that, the prosecution is really riding its coattails on something that is imaginary. It's like a magic carpet ride. Even the judge is having a hard time taking this case seriously. So I would say I can't believe that the DA brought this to trial. And I would say she has a good chance of being acquitted and William never getting justice and no one ever knowing what really happened to William. And only she knows because she was probably the last person to see him alive. Now, what she did with him from there is no proof of, but she'll never tell. So it's going to be like Casey Anthony all over again, right? A poor child is dead and no one's being held accountable and we're never going to know the story or the truth. So I just wanted to catch everyone up on this trial that we're currently watching. It is Teresa Black versus Georgia, or Georgia versus Teresa Black. And it is about a little boy named William. And he existed, he lived. He lived for nearly 8 years and unfortunately came to an early death, probably due to actions caused by his mother, but not sure if she actually killed him. So stay tuned. We'll keep watching this trial and I'll keep you guys posted. 감사합니다.